very plain concerning women's role in the church. Well, second, quickly, he, that is this minister, the pastor, must evidence the call of God to the ministry. This is marked in his personality. Note that the emphasis in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, is upon the individual's personal character. And if such is, that is, his personal character, greatly defective, it would preclude an acceptable ministry. The possession of necessary preaching and pastoral gifts, and some evidence that the assembly is edified by his ministry. Without these, and I'm sorry, I did not capitalize God there. For some reason it didn't come out that way. Without these, the call of God stands in great doubt. Third, he must be desirous of his pastoral office. A man who would dare to enter the ministry unwillingly would be hard-pressed to put his heart into it when he faced an inherent opposition associated with it. Fourth, he must possess an unblemished character. That is, he must be of unquestionable morality. Husband of one wife. Mios, gunikos, andra. It is anarthrous, there's no definite article there, emphasizing a one-woman kind of man. That is, the pastor must have eyes only for his wife. Being married is not sufficient. He must also be temperate, self-controlled, and a hospitable individual. Fifth, the minister must evidence the necessary gifts. Of course, this is obvious. He must be apt to teach and preach and exhort and whatnot. Sixth, he must be the undisputed head of his home. Should he lack this, he can never exercise a suitable ministry nor gain the respect of the assembly. He must be one that is known to be the head of his home. Seventh, he must be of a mature Christian character, sufficient to the work of the ministry. This may speak of his age, but it also goes right to the heart of the matter of his maturity in spiritual matters. Finally, he must have a good reputation in the community, as the entire assembly is reflected in him. Pretty interesting qualifications that are worth studying. And then there are a couple things quickly before we get to the office of the deacon that Pastor Downing brings up. The responsibility of the pastoral office are given in principle in Acts 6:4, prayer and the ministry of the word. It's noteworthy that prayer is placed in the primary position. It forms the basis for everything in the ministry. The ministry of the word includes the whole realm of pastoral labor, preaching, teaching, the spiritual oversight or shepherding of the flock of God. It follows, therefore, that the pastor is not the religious executive, the dictator, or the public relations man, an administrator of the church. He is to be the spiritual leader, and he is to be organized as well. 1 Timothy, and he gets this from 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 2, which states in the King James Version that he must be of good behavior. If you have a King James Version, you'll see that there. You won't see it in some of the other more modern translations. But the word good behavior is from the Greek word kosmion, which connotes orderly or organized. It talks about the cosmos, or the orderly system of the universe. And that is what is one of the responsibilities of the pastoral office. He is to be of good behavior. Kosmion. Then the question comes up, and I think Pastor Tim has dealt with this in some of his studies in Acts. Is there to be a plurality of elders? Of course, we answer yes. That's why there are two of us. Acts 14:23 has been used to teach the necessity of a plurality of elders in every assembly. When they had appointed elders for them in every church, having prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord in whom they had believed. Two qualifications are in order for this consideration. First, God raises up men within the local assembly and qualifies them for the ministry or eldership. He may not, Dowling qualifies here, he may not raise up a plurality of men in a young church or in one that is rather small in number. And so a single elder or pastor does not disqualify any New Testament church. It doesn't make it any less a church. Second, it would be sinful and contrary to the nature of the church to elevate any person to the office of elder if he were not qualified. The office of elder, pastor, bishop must presuppose a definite call of God, the necessary gifts, personality, and disposition of that, does that say world?
Mm-hmm.
That word, I think, is probably what should be. Failure at this point would be extremely detrimental to the church. And then the final paragraph there deals with the distinction. Is there a distinction between a teaching elder and a ruling elder? Don't have time to look up these passages, but Romans 12:8, 1 Timothy 5:17, Hebrews 3:7 and 17. The New Testament considers both to be within the pastorate. And here he quotes 1 Timothy 5:15. The elders who rule well are to be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who work hard at preaching and teaching. So the concept of a teaching elder or pastor and a board of ruling elders who are not pastors, that is not gifted or qualified for the pastoral office, is not scriptural, but based upon an Old Testament concept of the church, tradition, and expediency. The idea of ruling in the New Testament is a pastoral concept within the local assembly, and it is not to be identified with the elders of Israel in the Old Testament or the Sanhedrin in the New. These latter two institutions were sacral in nature, that is political, social, and religious, not pastoral in the New Testament sense. Well then, quickly, and this will just take a few moments, the office of a deacon. The office of deacon was instituted as an office of necessity and was intended to bring a division of ministry into the church. Acts 6, 1 through 4. You know the passage, we already read it. The eldership is the spiritual leadership of the local assembly, while the office of deacon is the administrative aspect. The word deacon, diakonos, from diako, means to pursue or hasten, hence diakonane, the infinitive, to serve. And it literally means to serve tables. And that is exactly how it was used by Peter in the institution of this office in Acts 6:2. He asked, it's not good that we should leave the minute prayer and the ministry of the word to serve tables. That's the word, to serve tables. And then secondly, the diaconate